Hi everyone, it's Niamh here and welcome to my art journaling channel. This is a video that I've been asked about a lot, and it's how I do my handwriting. So this page is going to go very quickly, but it's very repetitive, so that's what it is. This is a really big quote. This quote came from a TV show called The Last Leg, which is a British TV show, but it's got an Australian host. And it was David Tennant who made this quote at the end of a session, and it just summed up what was happening in the world at that stage. So it's all going to be okay, but it's up to us to make it okay. It's time for us to be positively rebellious and rebelliously positive. As long as we stand up for what we believe in, don't give in to anger or violence, look after the little guy, keep an eye on the big guys, refuse to keep our mouths shut, and generally don't be a dick. Excuse me, language. So I've just written all of this out in my large Dilutions journal with my 5M Posca paint pen. I just wrote it out in my normal handwriting, spread it across the page as much as I possibly could. I did not measure to see if this would fit in. I just used sort of the space that I had to try and fit it in. So you can see the lines at the bottom get a little bit closer together, but that's okay. And if you do run out of room, it's okay to edit your quote just to fit it in. It's fine. Once I have written my quote out though, and I've got it on the page, this is where I go back in to make it look like I've planned it. And I go back and I widen all my letters, or lengthen the lengths of, the L's and the I's and the U's, just so they fit in. So, if I've got a big space at the edge of a page, I might make my letter bigger. I add little sort of triangles onto the end of them to make them wider, to make the ups and down strokes as wide as possible as well. So it's just going in and seeing what space you've got and using your space really effectively. With my A's, I tend to just write them normally sort of around in a line. When I've got room, I'll probably put the top fancy little bit on. I don't know what they're actually called. I'm sure they've got a name for them. Anyone in the comments can tell me. Just to again stretch it up and make it all fit in. Usually when I'm doing a quote, certainly I would never do a quote this big. This is actually quite unusual for me, but this quote just summed everything up for me, and I really want to have it in my journal somewhere. So quite often, I'll just look for a short and sweet little quote, but sometimes it's actually quite good, and it's great practice to do something as big as this. Now I have sped this up considerably. This took me about an hour to do, because there is a lot of going back and forth, and it can be sometimes not a little bit monotonous, but you're doing the same thing over and over and over again. But certainly if you want to practice your handwriting, this is a great way to practice it, because you've got lots of letters to practice on, lots of space to fill in, lots of words to try and fit into your page. So it's just a really, really great way to do it. So once I have written out and thickened up all my lines and put in who the quote came from, I'm just drying it off. Now, obviously you could write that out with pencil first hand and then go over the top with the paint pen. I like to just write with paint pen. That's just me. Because I didn't have any colour in the background and I wanted a translucent colour, I've decided to use these water-soluble powders. I think they're called Brushos or colour bursts. I'm not 100% sure. There might be a mix of the two of them in there. Basically what I'm doing is just wetting the page and then sprinkling on the powder, and you can see they're really, really intense colours. They come up really well. If it gets a bit too wet, I just use some paper towels sort of to rub it off. Obviously you could just use normal watercolours. You could use a Dilution spray inks to do something similar. Anything that you've got will work. Now I'm going in again to help push this out from the background, and my original idea was I was just going to choose some words to highlight, so the positively rebellious and rebellious positive, which I really liked, but then in the end I decided I was going to do it to all of it. So what I'm doing is going around my letters. I'm putting a drop shadow on the bottom left hand side of each of my letters. Now it really doesn't matter where you put it. It could be the top right or bottom left, as long as you are consistent. So because I do this so often, my go-to is my bottom left of each of my letters, and I know that when I follow that pattern, I'm fairly consistent the whole way through. When I first used to do this, I sometimes used to get confused. I'd put them in different places and it just looks odd. So it doesn't matter where you put it, as long as you are consistent with it. You can see in some of the spaces that you don't see the white at all, but down in the darker areas it really does help push it out from the background. Gives it almost a 3D effect, and it just pushes the foreground, pushes it into the foreground, pushes the background back. So it's a really great way if you've got a busy background to make it pop out. Obviously I'm using white on this, but you know, you could use any colour you wanted to, as long as it's contrasting from the background. So that's it. Pretty simple. Does take practice. So as I often say, practice makes progress. The only way you're going to get better at it is just to keep handwriting, and try lots of different styles. Look on the internet at some calligraphy writing as well. There's some great little short, sharp things on there that will help you as well. But just practice. It will, you know, you'll get more comfortable with it. So I hope that helped. Thank you so much for watching. Until next time, bye for now.